to join us and giving the comments to Dr. Shin.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Pak. Your time is 10 minutes and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sweta, for introduction. And thank you also to Dr. Handoko for inviting me to join in this forum. So it is a great pleasure to see all old friends, I think. I saw Pa Aryo also in this group, and also new colleagues, Dr. Johanna and also Dr. Shin, yeah, and also Dr. Padilla. It's really good. So it's nice to see all of you, and also Dr. Padilla. We are coming from the same university in Canada. So let me share my presentation to respond to Dr. Shin presentation. Okay, let me. Can you see everyone? Hello?
Yes, we can see it clearly, Bapak.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Sweta. Thank you, Dr. Shin. I think the information that has been presented by Dr. Shin is quite comprehensive, yeah. So showing to us from the development of large marine ecosystem and the issue of marine and land-based pollution in Arafura and Timor Sea. So I would like to share a little bit about the Arafura and Timor Sea. So in order to make us more aware or familiar. So if you, from Indonesian perspective, yeah, Arafura and Timor Sea large marine ecosystem, we have been hearing since this morning, is a semi-enclosed sea, so bordering by 4 countries, high biodiversity, high productivity. When you joined the meeting yesterday, the Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean mentioning that 50% of wild shrimp production is coming from Arafura and Timor Sea. And this accounted about 20% of all commercial fish production in Indonesia. In terms of population, even though Indonesia has 168 million population, but in terms of the distribution, Arafura and Timor Sea area, especially in Indonesia, we consider as a low population density. So, and we also consider remote sea area from Indonesian perspective. So if we fly from Jakarta to the capital district of Southeast Maluku, it takes almost 6 to 8 hours by plane. Yeah, and we consider also that Arafura and Timor Sea area is less studied by Indonesian scientists. So that this is also a challenge for both Dr. Shin and Dr. Johanna when they are starting the study, especially in the area of Arafura and Timor region. Yeah. Let me share about the climate and ocean current at Arafura and Timor Sea. If you look at this graph, this is published by Morrison and Delaney in 1996. So the Arafura and Timor Sea was really influenced by monsoon season. Yeah. So during northeast monsoon, this blue line, when wind blow from northeast monsoon to Arafura Timor Sea, so it's bring wet season to this area. So actually, this also give influence to the climate, climate in this area. So if you look at the rainfall of the area around around northeast Arafura, they tend to be high rainfall, and then when goes to Timor and southern northern Australia is less rainfall, right? So similarly, during southeast monsoon from May to October, it's bring dry season, but this also generate upwelling, actually, upwelling processes because of wind blow from southeast area goes to north, so it press the water mass, current goes to the north, and then this create upwelling processes, especially in southern Maluku and also in southern West Papua. So this is the current direction. So in Indonesia especially was influenced by Indonesian through flow. Water mass coming from Pacific goes to Maluku and then Banda and then goes to Timor Sea. Similarly, the current coming from the northeast goes to Gulf of Carpentaria. So this is not beside this water mass. The water mass also coming from Torres Strait. From Coral Sea goes to Torres Strait and flow to Arafura Sea. So this give high productivities of the area. This is how a sediment transport coming from land, mostly coming from Papua or New Guinea, and also from Timor. So on average, around 160 tons per year. This also influence the dynamic of ecosystem, both coastal and pelagic ecosystem. So what is the potential contaminant around Arafura Timor Sea? I think Dr. Shin has been explaining very clearly and detailing. So if you look at most contaminant, pollutant coming from marine and also land-based. I think atmospheric source we consider insignificant at the moment. But if you look at from land-based source, there are three main sources: mining activities, ports, and coastal development. Right now, in terms of coastal development, it's not much going on, but at least the issue of population, because from Dr. Shin's presentation, the number of population in Indonesian side quite high. So the nutrient, plastic litter, and heavy metal. That's when the development occur in that area, especially for tourism, because the government of Indonesia really strong to develop tourism, especially in Eastern Indonesia. From port activities, there is potential of oil leakage or oil spill, heavy metal, especially TBT, tributyltin, and also plastic litter atau marine debris. Mining, there are huge mining or big company in both in Indonesia and also in Papua, in New Guinea and also in Indonesia. Yeah? So Okitedi and also several mining in Indonesia like Freeport. Yeah? So that potential of giving metal contamination and sedimentation. This, if you look at from the presentation of Dr. Shin, I suggest we follow, we divide, yeah, the area as Dr. Johanna, for example, whether we can divide into two areas, Timor Sea and Arafura Sea, or become three area, sub region. Yeah, this is to simplify the activities, because for northeast Arafura Sea, the nature was quite different with Timor Sea area. So for Arafura, northeast Arafura tend to be land-based source pollution is much stronger. And in Timor Sea, more to marine-based source pollution, like oil and gas industry, shipping and fishing vessel.
Okay, Professor, your time is 1 minute plus.
Yeah, almost done. So this is the major port, shipping density at oil and gas side. So the presentation of Dr. Shin showing all oil rig in Timor Sea, in Australian side, but in Indonesia there will be Abadi. This is a natural gas that will be developed in the near future. This is also a potential not only benefit but also negative. Yeah. From the shipping, if you see all that road on the left side is the number of port around Arafura and Timor Sea. Mostly the port is in Australian side and also some of them in Indonesian side. So this is also a potential of oil leak or spill. Yeah. So that's the 2 points I would like to provide. Yeah. So this is the note and 3 recommendations. Very few research work on contaminant concern, oil leakage, not much. Plastic litter, even plastic litter or marine debris, no research has been done in Arafura, Timor Sea, both in, especially in Indonesia. And I think we need to update information about ecosystem and marine resources. Therefore, my recommendation, I think, if you would like to develop ecosystem sensitivity index, we have to have really at least information about mapping at least 3 main coastal ecosystem, coastal, seagrass, and bioecological research cruise for pelagic system. So I think bioecological research cruise, I think Indonesian side, especially KKP and LIPI, they have a plan to have this cruise. This is also important, I think, to link ATSEA with research institution among in Indonesia. And identification of number of fishing boats, this is also important to operate in ATS, so to study how the impact of fisheries on ecosystem or on habitat. Thank you, everyone. Terima kasih. Sorry if take some time. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. It was such a great and thorough and detailed notes and feedbacks. And as what happened on the previous topic, I will give the time to Dr. Shin to respond for 5 minutes. Okay. Please unmute yourself, or the committee will help you to unmute. So you can
Yes,
respond.
I cannot control the microphone.
Go ahead, Doctor.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Arifin, for your comments. And then there's a great message I can take. I agree that we divide into two seas, like Timor Sea and Arafura Sea. Actually, LME, Arafura Timor Sea LME is composed of two seas, Arafura Sea and Timor Sea. And then the reason being is that these two seas are fairly different in terms of biological, physical, and many other factors. So the suggestion by Dr. Arifin is very good, because we have to think separately. Although our first project incorporate two into one because of the political reason, but our ecosystem doesn't honor political system. So we need to see this separately to identify closely to the reality. And then another thing is that about the oil spill, there are not many studies have already did. So I'd like to invite my friend Aryo to explain about the Indonesian status of oil spill response. Let's hear some sales pitch from him. Is it okay, Tanya?
Okay, maybe I can give 1 minute or so to Dr. Arya.
Okay, so I will take a note of Dr. Arifin about suggestions. That's very good suggestions. And then I have a 3 more month of consultancy, and then I will consider your suggestion, put it into the report of the pollution assessment. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shin. As what requested by Dr. Shin, is Dr. Aryo here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, please elaborate in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks. Is my old friend. Yeah. And thank you so much also for showing our works. So, and Ms. Sweet, Ibu Mbak Sweeta, yeah, and
Yes.
all other pages. Yes, our institution has been conducting various, I think more than 15 studies about environmental sensitivity index development in some of the coastal areas in Indonesia. And 3 of them has been published as a paper, but the rest of our study has not been published. So our study is producing a map in a coastal area which is potentially impacted by oil spill. So that's why we cooperated with oil companies operated in an area. So then we developed this coastal sensitivity based on some criteria, and has been shown by Dr. Shin. So this map is being used by the government as part of the oil spill contingency plan. So by having this map, then it is quite useful by the OSCP to decide the priority area need to be protected, because it is impossible to cover 300 kilometers with oil boom. So then we have to decide which area on that coastline that need to be prioritized to be protected. So then we developed that formula, and It's quite useful. It's a very, it's not so simple, but it's not too complicated. We identify all the biological features of the area, like the mangrove, coral reefs, and then also some seagrasses. And also we identifying some economic activity of the people, like mariculture, shrimp pond farming, and then also some capture fisheries, and then some human settlement also, and then with some score calculating index, then we able to combine all those two variables into one index. Then we been able to decide which one is the more priority and which one is the less priority. Then it is
Okay.
useful. Thank you so much. So
Thank
I'm
you.
to cooperate with you, Pak Handoko, if you are would like to develop an AC in your project area, then I'm lovely to work together with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arya Damar. What an outstanding additional feedbacks, and also a good way to show the collaboration can works everywhere. And it might be inspiring for you guys to also speak up to ask for their helps or insights or even critics to make sure that the ATSEA-2 outcomes can be a success. Okay, before we're coming to the question and answer session, I'd like to remind to every participants, you can actually raise your hand to press the button in the Zoom link if you would like to address the questions or comments directly through live with your video and your microphone. But while we're waiting for people who would raise their hands, I think I already have lots of questions written down on Zoom and also YouTube. But before I'm going to that direction as well, I'd like to remind those that maybe joining in just one screen. I see there is Gerson Alphas, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry. You can all joining from each different devices, because after the question and answer, we will have a quiz where it is kind of like a fastest one will win the prizes and will be given directly, send it out to your home, wherever you are. So make sure you are signing in with fast connection devices, and you can join the quiz after the question and answer sessions. Okay, so the first question is coming from Derta Prabudni from Reef Check Indonesia to Dr. Johanna Johnson. The question is, in the last 5 years, we lean on social and ecologic resilience, let's say adaptive, to climate change. Some areas or ecosystem had a great capacity to cope with climate change, either social and or ecological aspect, regardless of the governance. I am interested in the governance aspect, as I believe with support by governance, the social and or ecological adaptive resilience to climate change will be more optimal. Any thought if it is adaptive and how? And if it is support social ecological adaptive, how? Either official governance or community-based one. Thank you. And I believe Dr. Johanna can answer it less than 3 minutes.
Thank you. Actually, Dita and I have been messaging privately in the chat as well, because I think when we do these big regional assessments and when we look at these large marine ecosystems, obviously everyone is always thinking about, well, how does this come down to a level that's useful for industries, whether that's fisheries or tourism or other, and importantly, communities. And there's been so much work in this space, and I've actually done a lot myself with communities in Vanuatu, in Solomons, in other parts of the world, in the Pacific in particular, to work with them to build local leadership and governance and to build their adaptive capacity, if you like, to climate change, but not just climate change, to any future uncertainty and change. And I guess rather than, I mean, the project that I'm leading for ATSEA-2 now is going to be providing information that would be an input to further work that you would do at a community level. And as I said, there'll be guidelines for how this might be useful. And I've committed to Dirta to maybe communicate further by email after this session, provide her with some more information, with some links to other people who are working in the space of local community-based adaptation to climate change. Because, I mean, that is the key where we're focusing. It's about this social and community-based adaptation. So, you know, I'm really happy to share more information, I think, offline, but given the time constraints and the fact that this study is really about regional, perhaps we can, I can just share those resources and talk with people by email afterwards, because there is a process, there's lots of documented processes, in fact, and how you use them just depends on where you're working in your context.
Okay, noted. Thank you for the outstanding answers. And we will have questions from 2 participants directly to Dr. Shin about marine pollutions and also land-based pollution. The first question is coming from Lumban Nauli Toruan, which originally handed to Mr. Handoko, but it refers back to you, Dr. Shin. He or she said that we have beach debris data from more than 50 beaches around Timor Island, but it is still calculated because we conducted the research in August of 2020. We used UNEP 2009 as the main method because the government used that method too. What do you think? Maybe because the LIPI Indonesian have a different methods and so on, and you also strongly suggest about having a compile and integrated data. And the second question that maybe you can answer as well is coming from Dwi Aryoga, and the question is, Dr. Shin, do you have any suggestion related to engagement with the private sector? In ATS context, where is the private sector position? What kind of private sector should be engaged based on your experience? I think you can directly answer it both under 5 minutes. Okay, we would like to help you on unmuting. Okay, great.
Awesome. Oh, yes.
Thank you very much for the comments. Let me respond to Lumban. More than 50 beaches around Timor Island. That's very good. And then, you know, the problem is I don't have access to the data. The data should be published. You know, in Korea, whenever we conducted the study by National Monitoring Program, the data goes to the a database, and all the public can access to the data. They can draw, and so as soon as they finished their study, they put into the database, and that database is open to the public. Like you can see previous month monitoring result on the internet because it's on the public. So, you know, it's actually available. So I think that, you know, ATSEA region as a whole develop a monitoring protocol and then collect the data and then share the data with the public. And then second comment is that the UNEP 2009 as a main method. Sure, you know, that's a fairly standard method, but they suggest a data card inside that manual, 2009 UNEP manual. There are data card. But, you know, most of the country, they modify that data card and they are customizing their data card. So almost all the country, they use different data card. Because, you know, 2009 UNEP data card is quite comprehensive. So you cannot apply to all the country. That's why we need to come up with a agreed data card among ATSEA region, how to conduct and what to measure and how to measure. So, you know, if we see the data card, then we will understand what kind of method you use. So, my comment is that 2009 UNEP is quite standard, it's very good. So the problem is that I don't have access. So let me have the data once available, okay? And that will be very useful because I was not able to find any data about the marine litter in ASEAN region. So that's my problem.
So if you have data, then please share with me. And then the second comment about what is that? Let me find.
The private sectors.
Private sector engagement. Yes. Okay. In Korea, we have an NGO at almost all local area. They are environmental NGO. If environmental NGO is not there, then we engage fisheries cooperative or union or even company. So there is a local stakeholders at that monitoring site. And then, if they don't know anything about marine litter monitoring, then we provide the training, and we provide the money and training and resources we provide. And then after like 1 or 2 months later, it's a fairly routine process. So it's easy to acquire the skill. So we just discard like half a year data, and then we use the second half year data, and then they are fairly consistent in scientifically correct. So, so we can do the training to any NGO if available. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Shin. There's a lot of comments, agreements on the section of comment box on Zoom and YouTube. But on the other hand, I think to make it even, I will give additional one question to Dr. Johanna, which coming from Graciela Navarro Araujo. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken on spelling it out loud. The question is, what about world temperatures that are rising and ocean oxygen is getting thinner? Ocean oxygen that is getting thinner threatens a number of fish species, including shark. As what you mentioned, shark is one of the species that you also monitor. And how to solve that? How to solve this issue? Maybe you can answer it on a short time, Dr. Johanna.
Sure. In terms of the climate change variables and the changes we're seeing, which includes, as you rightly identified, temperatures and ocean oxygen levels. I mean, the solutions are these global solutions, as we know. It's about emissions reductions. In terms of how they'll be incorporated into the assessment, well, temperature is a key factor in the assessment, and it will be part of the input for the exposure when we do the analysis. Same with oxygen levels. So there's no projections for oxygen levels, particularly at depth. So stratification is a big factor when we talk about changes in ocean conditions, and having these changing temperatures from the surface into the deeper water, and then obviously different oxygen concentrations. And for some species, not just sharks, but things like tuna, oxygen levels and depth, like temperature at depth, really matter. But we don't have these projections in detail for the Arafura and Timor Sea region. So while I don't want to use projections from other regions for this analysis, so while we might not input something like oxygen levels at depth and temperature levels at depth into the assessment, it'll be part of the consideration for the species. So part of the, I guess, if you like, the text that sits around about things that will affect species, particularly against sharks, it'll be considered and mentioned. But unless we have reasonable data for the region, I just can't use it in the analysis. It's just important that the data is locally relevant to the context and its quality data.
Okay, Dr. Johanna, thank you very much for your answers, and also Dr. Shin and all the panelists and speakers and also participants. And as we're going to the end of the program, we are going to close the question and answer session. But worry not if those that feels the question is not being answered, or do you have any other additional questions, please feel free to reach out to both of the speakers as mentioned before. That is written, the contact details on the presentation materials, and how you can get the presentation materials. Make sure you can fill out the questionnaire forms or the registration forms, which the link is provided under the chat box on Zoom or YouTube. Okay, so we will give you the presentation materials after. questions. Okay, I think people are not cannot wait on the next agenda, which is actually a quiz that you can get a prize by just answering it the most quick. Okay, so please prepare your phone or your laptop on hands. I will say out loud the questions, and then I will count into 3, and then after 3 you can go answer the questions. Okay, I will have 2 questions each regarding to the topic. All right, I see some of you has already prepared. I will mention the questions right away. Okay, so the first question is, how many steps are needed for climate change vulnerability assessment? 3, 2, 1. Go answer on Zoom account. Not yet, not yet. Come on, open your notes. I believe some of you put it on the notes. Come on, come on. Maybe you can, follow the bidding rules, either getting upper or down. Okay, so I guess we have the final answers. That one, which is, I think it is Aji Anggoro. Hooray! Congrats to you. The committee will be contacting you, making sure that you also respond to it. Okay, so that's the first questions. I see that people are getting more excited now. So this is the second questions coming from Dr. Shin's presentation. So, okay. The question is, what year did Montana oil spill incident happen? 3, 2, 1. Okay, we can see. Uh-oh, everybody's so fast. Yeah, I think we got the winner. The winner would be Lumban Naulitoruan. Congratulations, you are winning the game of today's quizzes. So for those, both of you, thank you, and all of you actually, thank you for participating on today's agenda. And for those who did not accept the winner, and worry not, because you can actually still winning another gifts or another prizes by participating on the quote competition. I believe the committee will share the screen on how to join the quote competition. Okay, so quote competition is being held on Facebook. So after you getting inspired by all of the speakers and panelists, please feel free to put up some quotes, and one participants are allowed to write down maximum 2 quotes for the range of the webinars, which is up until 5th of November. And you can post it on your Facebook, tagging ATSEA FB account, which under the name of Arafura and Timor Sea's Ecosystem Action ATSEA-2. And there will be 2 winner categories, which is the best quote about ATSEA-2 project and the most liked post. And the winner will be announced at the 4th day and also the last day of this webinar series, which is 5th of November 2020. Okay, make sure to screenshot that out or put some notes on it, and I believe one of you will be the winner. Okay, and yeah, I think that's all for today. I am going to address one more time my biggest regards, my biggest thank you and gratitude to all the speakers and panelists on behalf of the committee, and of course to the committee that working a lot behind the stages. And thank you. And for those of you who are going to join for the next session, you can find out more on our Instagram on @program_ATSEA, or to the YouTube account or the Facebook account. You will find out more on how to join the next sessions or to gain the recording of the previous webinars. Okay, so I think that's all from us. Thank you very much, and I apologize if there's any mistakes or any wrongdoings. Okay, see you tomorrow, and bye-bye, everyone.